Democrats finally have power, so of course they're squabbling over what to do with it. Lately, the drama is centered on the group of moderate House Democrats who threatened to tank approval of a $3.5 trillion budget, a key step in advancing Joe Biden's agenda, until they got a vote on a bipartisan infrastructure bill. After some late nights and growing acrimony, a deal was reached to move forward, but it ultimately only postponed a reckoning into the fall. As the divide between the parties' factions grows sharper, Biden's ambitious plans are at risk along with Democrats' prospects in 2022. So we ask an outsider, a Republican, because we need to ask Republicans what they think and get their opinions on shit. 'Cause who doesn't ask Republicans what they think about shit? Fuck. To weigh in with how Democrats can achieve at least a cold peace and avoid catastrophe. Professionally, Liam Donovan is a lobbyist and former GOP political operative, but he's known as a keen, clear-eyed analyst of legislative maneuvering on Twitter, and he's got some friendly advice for Democrats if they're willing to listen. The key for these guys is don't lose the plot. You have to fight your battles with the proper perspective. You have to go in knowing that you're not going to get all of what you want. There's going to be a half loaf involved. Don't put yourself in a position where you can't save face at the end of the day, because that's what the bottom line is. Everybody has to save face. Give yourself off-ramps, give yourself opportunities to take the win. And I think it's ridiculous coming from a Republican lobbyist, but I think that's how you get it done. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and the rest of the Democratic caucus are in for a rough month ahead. This is back to Politico's reporting and not the Liam Donovan, the analyst. Pelosi has promised moderates a vote on the infrastructure bill by September 27th, but progressives vow they won't provide their support unless a sweeping social spending package is passed through reconciliation first. Meanwhile, how Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema can find consensus on a reconciliation bill is the multi-trillion-dollar question. Here are 7 takeaways from our conversation on how Democrats got to this point and what they need to do next. Why moderates picked a fight over the budget. Funny, I actually do not think it was particularly wise, mostly because I didn't think there was much to be gained. But I think what informs everything broadly and frankly, what's coming in September, is just a profound lack of trust between these two sides. What Pelosi gave away in the deal. I think the meaningful thing in here, I don't know, I guess this is the Republican operative speaking to the questions asked by Politico. I think the meaningful thing in here is moderates don't want to be put in a position where they have to go beyond their comfort zone on the reconciliation bill. Essentially, they don't want to be legislatively extorted. Neither side wants to swallow something that they don't like, and so they want to keep something that they can hold over the other. How Biden painted Republicans into a corner in the first place. There's 2 elements that made the infrastructure bill work. One was the experience of the American Rescue Plan, where the president steamrolled Republicans because he had consensus. And I think demonstrating to Republicans, you lowball my offer and put Democrats in a position where they all agree, I'm not going to hesitate for the sake of bipartisanship. So I think that was a shot across the bow that, hey, I can get Democrats to agree on big things, even the ones you think are on your side. I can get them if you don't play ball in a good faith manner. So I think that was a gut check for Republicans. I think that informed the infrastructure negotiations. How the 2022 midterms shaped the psychology of the clash. The key part of the tension, because the collective interest is in accomplishing as much as you can as soon as you can, whereas the individual interests are much more fraught. We could argue in theory as to whether it matters if you vote for this or that, or go big or go small. Do voters really parse these things? But to a member, considering their individual circumstances, this all feels really important. So I think for progressives, there's this fierce urgency for now. For the vulnerable members or the frontline members, I think there's a weariness of going too big or doing something that is going to be used against you. Look back at Obamacare. The Blue Dog members that opposed Obamacare, that didn't save them. To the extent they survived, they're gone now. They were gone within a few cycles. Most of them lost anyway. You're not going to save your own skin by going against your party. The parties are sorted. Voters are polarized. The D next to your name or the R next to your name determines most of this. You're going to get blamed for this if it happens. You're going to get credit for it if it does. That is very good. This is me editorializing now. That is very good advice for the Democrats. Just go ahead and fucking do the shit and take credit for it. The savviness of Bernie Sanders. I think the key for these guys is don't lose the plot. You have to fight your battles with proper perspective. You have to go in knowing that you're not going to get all you want. Okay, that was his advice to Bernie, I guess. The question is and will continue to be, are they sort of in on the joke that a lot of this is theater, in the sense that you need to leverage the best you can get, but at the end of the day, whether that's 1.75 trillion or 3 trillion or whatever it is, it's going to have to be what it is. And I think this goes back to the issue of mutually assured destruction being useful until it isn't. Because at the end of the day, if you're willing to blow up $1 trillion deal because it's not everything you want, I don't think that is productive. I don't think that is helpful to anyone. The incentives are aligned in such a way that we'll get something done. The question is, who can afford to walk away? And I think that's where Manchin and Sinema's leverage comes in, which is they're game to do this, but they have a walk away number, and they've already said it's 3.5 trillion. The question is where that ceiling is. And I think they're very credible as people who don't need this at any cost. Whereas it's much tougher to see progressives blowing it up because, again, like a micro-sized version of this is still the second biggest piece of legislation ever. So that's the fight we have coming up in the coming weeks. But before we get to that, let's get to the fight for the children's brains. There's outrage as a public high school teacher admits communist indoctrination of students in the classroom. Of course, this is a Project Veritas video. So you know what the content's going to be like.
Days turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare the fuck out of them? Yeah. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So like, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
No, I post a calendar every week.
Awesome.
And then so and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. And so that encourages them to do it. And I've had students.
Wow! Look at how fucking high. You can already tell how edited this is. This dude didn't say any of this shit. There's a cut after every sentence to make it sound like he is putting up posters in the classroom and telling his students they get extra credit if you go out and protest with Antifa.
Tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection, that's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall. And a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, it's meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to. So the Cultural Revolution in the 60s was fixing the problem that came about after the economic one. It ultimately failed, right? There was a lot
but people fall for this shit. I don't know how they do it.
Shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been.
Incredibly ugly behavior come out of this city, and you can see a couple of people over there that might be demonstrating that.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare the fuck out of them?
Meet Gabriel Gipe. He's a public school teacher paid for by taxpayer dollars at Intercom High School in Sacramento, California.
I am not high enough for this shit.
Placement government classes, is not shy about his involvement in Antifa's local chapter. He even has an Antifa flag and a poster of Mao Zedong in his classroom.
So, it's like...
He's a history
My wife and I
teacher.
have been political organizers. I've been organizing since I was 13.
Wow.
And I've been in a ton of different organizations, and I've been on the front lines, and I've taken a step back and gone back and forth, and my wife is the same way.
Is there a local Antifa or chapter?
Yes, yeah. I'm the Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? And like we have no official like member list, right? So like when there is like right wing rallies and stuff.
No. What
Create an opposition to that.
we have a whole organization where we sign up to get our Soros
Sacramento,
bucks.
As the city itself is incredibly diverse, but we're surrounded by a bunch of right-wing rednecks. And then the other really big organization in our area that
Moderna.
looking to get involved is NorCal Resist.
Moo.
NorCal
I feel stupid. I've been saying it Mew the entire time.
For like undocumented folks, they help them with like material support as well as legal aid.
Moo.
With the help of National Lawyers Guild, so they work in tandem with each other. So that's why I do like political efficacy events, because I want to get them out in the community. I want to get them familiar with organizations that are doing work, what type of work they're doing, how they can be.
Yeah, they're inserting words into the captioning of the video.
Every single one of us can do something.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to all be on the front lines.
And it's quite possible somebody will sue fucking Project Veritas. All this will like get settled in court, 2 or 3 years from now.
To get his students actively participating at radical activist political
But the people that this propaganda works on, they're going to believe this fucking bullshit. Because right-wingers are morons.
Flyers or something?
No, I post a calendar every week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For the organizations that you mentioned, so they can get connected. That's dope, man.
And then so like and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. Like, and so that encourages them to do it. Because I can't just like, hey, here's some things going. They'll never go, right? And I've had like students show up for like protests, community events.
Yeah, there's been a few different vaccines that were contaminated.
Since I work with PSL, and PSL has connections with a bunch of other organizations, and also like Sacramento Peace Action, which is like a very old organization that posts a calendar on their website every month of all the events that are going on, and I just put them on my whiteboard, let them know where they are. When they go.
Yeah, this is absolutely nothing that has been edited into complete and utter propaganda. But you know what's not propaganda? A cat helping out giving us the weather. Apparently, since this meteorologist has been doing his weather forecast from home, his cat Betty has jumped in to help out. I don't think so, RB.
We are just kind of stuck in this unsettled pattern, kind of like other people I know here. They're like, you got to have that cat on or else. And so I was like, okay. So we'll keep it going.